And you,
Good evening. It's so great to see all of you here. We are excited to share with you about our conference that's coming up in June. So, for those of you that I don't know, I am Shannon. I work for DSF as patient advocacy director. And then Marianne and Veronica, do you want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Hi everyone, I'm Marianne Meskis. I am currently the CEO of the Dravet Syndrome Foundation and also have an adult son with Dravet syndrome.
Hi everyone, I'm Veronica Hood. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer for the Dravet Syndrome Foundation.
All right, I'll go ahead and kick us off. I know we'll probably have some other people joining. There's a lot of information to share. Some of it you may be interested in, some of it you may be like, why is she telling me this? But it's all stuff that I know that is important to some people, kind of depending on your family and who all's coming with you and what kind of things you might want to know about the conference. So, um, first off, I'd like to acknowledge that we have some amazing sponsors for this event. You'll see there on the logo, UCB and Stoke and Norellis are some of our larger sponsors, and we have several others as well. And we are only able to do an event like this because they do so much to support us, both financially and personally with their staff participating so that we can have a conference like this. So, just a little bit of general information about the conference. We typically have 400 to 500 people there. That's made up of families. I think at the last conference 2 years ago in Minneapolis, maybe we had 50 to 70 families. I know we had at least 50 Dravet patients that were actually there, which is pretty cool. Um, so the bulk of the attendees are families. We do get some medical professionals that come, either doctors that are there because they're participating by leading one of the sessions, or some others that come just for their own informational purposes because they want to learn more. Um, we'll have some researchers there, and then we also have a lot of industry professionals that are there from the different pharmaceutical companies and other partners. And then we have some volunteers that will be there to help as well. So, who comes to the conference? I think you'll find it's a mix. Some families decide to bring the whole family, including the loved one with Dravet, siblings, and everybody, because there are activities that the entire family can enjoy. Some parents decide, you know what, let's just leave the kids at home and get away and have a good time and not have to worry about the stress of the Dravet child or the siblings, and have a break. Some parents will come by themselves. It's really up to you in terms of what works for your family and what you think would be the best situation for you. But I will say, if you do bring your whole family, it really is a great experience for everyone. Um, why Orlando? So we do this conference every 2 years, and the goal is to move it around to different parts of the country. Unfortunately, something like New York City or LA or San Francisco is really not viable because of the cost, as much as we would love to go to those places. So we do try to move it around to different parts of the country. Um, a big factor this year was the World Cup happens to be at the same time. And so there were some cities that could have potentially been on the list that were automatically ruled out because getting meeting space was so difficult, and plane tickets there during this time period would have been really expensive as well. And it's also hard for us just to find a space that works for us in terms of the number of people, the amount of meeting space we need with the various different rooms and things. So it is definitely not an easy decision to determine where to host the conference, and a lot of thought and planning goes into that. Um, no, you do not have to stay at the conference hotel. There are a lot of other hotels in the area. Some of them may be cheaper. It's totally up to you if you would like to stay somewhere else. I did just want to make note, though, that you do have to pay for parking at the hotel if you're staying there overnight. But even if you just come during the day, there is a parking fee just to park there during the day. Um, does everyone have to register? The answer to that is yes. Um, Unfortunately, the meals are very, very expensive. And so a lot of people think that if I'm bringing an extra caregiver and they're not actually coming and sitting in the sessions because they're going to be with my kid, why do they have to pay to attend the conference? But the reality is, The largest cost is actually the meals. There is, and, cost associated with the meeting space and everything else as well, but the meals are really the biggest piece of it. So unfortunately, anyone that will be there participating in anything does need to be registered. Um, and then why does it cost so much? We know, well, $250 for an adult seems like a lot, but just keep in mind that the actual cost to DSF is significantly higher than that. So, thanks to the sponsors I mentioned, we're able to actually subsidize about 75% or probably even more of the actual cost that DSF is paying in order to put on this conference. So, we really do try to keep the cost as low as possible so that families can participate. And that's why, some of you may have seen that we had some scholarship opportunities to help cover the cost for families. Unfortunately, the date to apply for that has passed. But we really do want to make it as affordable as possible for people to participate. The dress code is fairly casual. It's really up to you. If you want to wear jeans or shorts, we're in Florida, that's totally fine. A lot of people are probably kind of more business casual. It will be cool in the meeting room. So, having some layers and being able to plan for that is not a terrible idea if you're one who tends to get a little bit cool. But obviously, it will be warm in Orlando in the summer. So if you go outside, it will be a huge shock when you step outside the hotel. Um, so as far as meals go, the first meal that's included with the conference is dinner on Thursday. And then on both Friday and Saturday, we will have breakfast, lunch, and dinner that are provided as a part of your registration fee. So as I mentioned, you do have to be registered in order to participate in the meals. And unfortunately, any hotels or event spaces like this are pretty strict about not allowing outside food and things into the meeting spaces. So we will do our best to accommodate any special dietary needs you have and know that, we know our Dravet kids and all kids can be a little picky about what they will eat. So we do usually have a separate buffet that has some more kid-friendly items for any of the kids or even adults with Dravet that might not want to eat. I know at the last conference, there were some trays of like cheese cubes, and I think my daughter just sat there shoveling the pieces of cheese into her mouth. So we try to do our best to accommodate with the things that we know that our community will actually eat. And then the main conference space is where all the sessions will take place. We have just one track this year, and so all of the meetings will be in that same conference room. However, if you need to step out or you just need a little bit of a break, you can go somewhere else in the hotel or go back to your room and you can watch the live stream just as if you were in the room. So everyone that participates in the conference in person, as well as those that signed up virtually, will have access to the sessions on demand through the end of the year. And at that point, we put them on our website, our YouTube page for the general public to access. In terms of the schedule, so the conference starts on Thursday. The first session starts at 1 o'clock, but we will open up registration at noon for those of you that are already there to come by, get your name tags, get checked in, get situated. That first day is a lot of updates from our industry partners. So you'll hear about some of the clinical trials that are going on, some just general welcome information, things you need to know about the conference. And then we will have our first dinner together that evening. And then on Friday, we start at 9 a.m. with the sessions. Breakfast will begin a little bit before that. We'll start off with some sessions all about science and research. I guess that's most of the day. That day, it's kind of more of the professional day in terms of understanding about Dravet syndrome and understanding what's going on in terms of research and what the pipeline looks like in terms of new treatments. And then that evening, we will have another dinner. The dinners are also in that main conference meeting space. And then that evening, we're trying something new. It's called Mom's Night Out. Basically, what that means is it's a night for the moms to gather together in the hotel lobby, hotel bar, out by the hotel pool, kind of just hang out for the moms. Does it mean dads are not allowed to come hang out? Absolutely not. The intent is just that if we have families that have come with multiple parents, it gives an opportunity for them maybe one night to kind of be their night while the other parent stays in the hotel room. So note that this is all on your own. DSF is not buying your alcohol that you will have hanging out at the bar that evening. But we just really wanted to try to facilitate an opportunity for moms and dads to get the opportunity to get to know each other a little bit. Um, and then on Saturday, we have, again, starting at 9 a.m., except we do start that day with the Wings of Hope, which is a butterfly release. For anybody that's never participated in that, it's a really special time that we do at the conference. We have the ability for attendees as well as anyone to purchase a butterfly in honor or in memory of someone with Dravet syndrome. And it's just a really special time when we gather and we release those butterflies. Um, and then the rest of the sessions that day will be more geared towards families. We'll have information about how to get engaged with DSF, how get involved with advocacy, some background on insurance. And then in the afternoon, we will have a workshop on genetic therapy, which is really geared towards making sure that everyone understands what the genetic therapy treatments are that are out there now in clinical trial, kind of understanding the difference between the types of treatments so that you really have the best information when it comes to thinking about whether that's something that you might want to participate in with your child. And then that evening, we will have our final dinner. And this one has a special theme because UCB, one of our partners who is the manufacturer of Fintepla, has created something called Camp Small Steps, which we had at our 5 regional Day of Dravet workshops last year. And it's just a really fun experience for the whole family. Basically, they will turn, it's a separate room across the hall that will be turned into basically a camp-like experience where everything that you would experience at a camp will be brought inside in a very safe, accessible environment for our families. So it's really special, a lot of fun, and we are very excited that we get to bring that to the big conference this year as well. And then, as I mentioned, with the Dad's Night Out will be on Saturday night. And then both days, Friday and Saturday, during the sessions, we will have next door in the room is a patient activity room where we will have some activities set up, and then we will have the sibling camp. And so both of those are things that I'll explain a little bit more about in a moment. So the actual sessions will take place in the Peninsula Ballroom at the hotel. It's worth noting that this hotel has a lot of meeting space, and we are not the only group that is going to be there this weekend. So there's another whole meeting area that is another group that it appears to be some kind of a dance competition. So we may get to see some interesting costumes and things happening at the hotel. But our main space is all down one hallway where we have the Peninsula meeting room, the patient activity room, the sibling camp. We will have that entire hallway as our dedicated space. And then the presentations, some of them will be from doctors, some of them will be from some of our pharmaceutical partners. We've got DSF staff, and then we also like to get a lot of different parents involved, serving on panels and things so that you're able to hear their experiences as well. So just a note, this is a professional conference. It will be live streamed and recorded. We do have doctors and other professionals in attendance, so we do try to keep the room as quiet and professional as possible. We want those recordings to be high quality so that when people go back to watch them later, they're able to hear the speakers and get the best experience possible. So for those of you that have attended in the past, you probably remember that we had a pretty strict rule that Dravet patients were not allowed to be in the sessions. We decided to change that a little this year. This is a test to see how this goes. We know that there are some patients that can sit for a couple hours and be quiet and not create a disturbance. We know that there are some families where it may be a single parent traveling alone with the patient and they don't have a caregiver to help. And so they're not able to come to the sessions unless they bring their child. So we are going to introduce some flexibility this year and allow the patients to remain in the session. We just ask that if your loved one with Dravet or anybody else in your group starts to cause any kind of a disturbance, please step out. You can either go over to the patient activity room or go back to your room or just kind of wander around the hotel or whatever, just because we want to ensure that the room stays as quiet as possible.
And I would just add, Shannon, one of the reasons in the past where we've had to limit that and actually didn't have a choice was we often offered continuing medical education credits to some of the professionals. This year, since we were doing it in Orlando and we're not partnering with an institution to do CME, it allowed us to have this option. So if in the future we ever do offer CME again for those Friday sessions, it does kind of go outside of DSF's control to allow patients under the age of 18 in the room. So I just wanted to mention that it wasn't always our decision in the past, and we are excited that we're able to try it this year.
Yep, that's a great point. Thank you for adding that. Um, so one of the fun things about coming to the conference is wearing your Dravet syndrome merchandise with other people who understand. We will have some items there available for purchase. We hope to have some new designs there. But I also wanted to let you know that we do have a sale that starts on Sunday and runs for about 4 weeks. We do a new t-shirt design every year for Dravet Syndrome Awareness Month, which is in June. So this is the design for this year. You can see there are lots of options in terms of the style of the clothing. You can pick what color you want it on, obviously different sizes. And so you'll be able to order. Again, it doesn't start until Sunday, but it's DravetAwarenessMonth.com. It's actually through Bonfire is the tool that we use. So this is a limited time campaign. You will have the ability to order them during this time period. You will receive them in time for June, so you'll definitely have them well before the conference, but we will not have this particular design available for purchase after this limited campaign. So we know that a lot of you, some of you already know each other from past events, and then I know everybody's excited to get to know new families and things. So we are looking forward to having the opportunity for everybody to connect. Just wanted to reiterate that there are no formal activities planned other than what we have for the actual conference. So as much as we would love to take everybody to Disney World, that's just not not feasible, both logistically or financially. So we know that a lot of you may want to do that, either come a couple days early or stay a couple days after, which obviously is completely fine. But everything we will be doing is the actual conference programming at the hotel. We know that a lot of you may want to connect and find out, well, who else is coming? Is there anybody I know or anybody I've been wanting to get to know? So we have set up a space on our new Mighty Network site that allows people that are coming to the conference to participate. So I've tried to make sure that everybody gets an invite to that once they have registered for the conference. If we've missed anybody, please reach out and let me know. But we really want you guys to have that opportunity as a way to connect. In the past, we've had like a Facebook group, but we decided to give this platform a try this year and see how it would work. And then we will have an app for the conference that'll have like the schedule and any information in there. So stay tuned. You will get an email about that so that you can get logged into the app before the conference begins. Anything to add, Marianne?
I don't think so.
So the hotel, our staff got the ability to go check it out in January for our annual meeting, and it is a beautiful hotel. I'm really excited. I think it'll be a really nice spot to have our event this year. There are a lot of amenities on site, so I did want to spend a little bit of time just kind of going through what's there so that you know what to expect, so that you might know what you want to steer your kids away from because you don't want them to see it because they'll be drawn to it. So it's a standard hotel. There's a restaurant. The lobby area is beautiful. You'll see in this bottom left picture, it's a big open atrium. That part in the center is actually the bar. But in the main level, there's a restaurant for sit down. There's a snack bar that has some pretty good sandwiches and things. And then there's even like kind of a grab and go where you can check out yourself if you need snacks after hours. There's a gift shop and then the bar in the lobby. And then outside, there's also a really, really nice pool. And there is a bar out there with poolside service, depending on, I'm sure, I'm guessing it's open pretty late hours during the summer when we will be there. So the splash pad is really nice. I know it will be a lot of fun for our kids. I know not all of us will be comfortable with our Dravet kids going there. So it is kind of off to the side of the pool. So it is possible to keep your kids away from it if you don't want them to see that it's there. There is kind of a fence around it with a gate. So they wouldn't be able to wander in there without opening the gate. I will note that even though it looks like the flooring area is padded, it's actually not. We were really hoping that those were kind of like a corky kind of padded material, but most of it is just straight concrete. So, um, obviously it's something that if our kids with Dravet are out there, they'll need to be very closely supervised by a parent. There are a couple water slides, so it's definitely a fun space that's available for the families that are interested. Um, Given that it is a hotel, just expect that you will pay hotel prices. We were joking when we were there that it was actually worse than airport prices. So just keep in mind that anything that you purchase at the hotel will not be cheap. Right behind the hotel is a 7-Eleven store, which is, a great place to run over if you need just to get some snacks or drinks or something like that. And then just a couple blocks down the street is also a CVS. And then again, we're not supposed to have outside food or beverages in any of the public areas or meeting space. Obviously, what you get and take to your room is completely fine. It's just in terms of the public areas. And then I wanted to share a few pictures of the rooms just so you have an idea what to expect. They're actually pretty big and spacious. I was pleasantly surprised. So if you've got, a large family, there's plenty of room for you to spread out with your luggage and things. Note that officially the rooms only are intended to accommodate 4 people maximum. Um, the one thing I wanted to point out, because of that beautiful atrium that I showed earlier, it does mean that a lot of the rooms have balconies. So if you're on one of the inside rooms, there is a balcony. You'll see kind of in the left picture here, this is the balcony going out, and then here's a more up close picture of the balcony itself. If you're worried about one of your kids like getting out there, you could always move like the chair over in front of it or something to try to, deter them a little bit. You may want to go into the room first and just close those curtains so that they don't even see that that door is there. We don't know for sure what type of room you will be assigned. The outside rooms, the standard rooms that are on the outside of the hotel do not have this balcony. So if the balcony is something that you're concerned about, then I would say you might want to contact the hotel and have them note that in your registration reservation that you would rather have an outside room that does not have a balcony. And then just a little bit more about the hotel. There is laundry that's there where you can even purchase, the detergent and fabric softener that you need with a change machine, because of course it takes a bunch of quarters. They do have microwaves. There's 2 of them sitting in a little area off the lobby. So if you, like me, have a kid that lives on Stouffer's Fettuccine Alfredo and you need to go grab one across the street at 7-Eleven and heat it up, you'll be able to do that. There is a little arcade on the lobby level. And then you'll see on the bottom left, there's this really nice outdoor space where they have like some games that I think are just set up there all the time. So if you need to let your kids out, it's kind of back past the pool, but if they need to let off some energy and go out and run around, it can be a great place to do that, assuming that it's not rented out privately by another group. So the patient activity room, this is a really, really neat thing that we've been able to offer the last several conferences, thanks to sponsors by Codex and UCB, and then it's run by Kira's Light Foundation. It's just a really, really awesome space to have a spot for our Dravet kids to go and just be themselves and relax and hang out where they don't have to be quiet. And there are usually lots of different activities and things set up there, some for younger kids, some for older kids, some for younger kids that older kids will play on, even though they are too big to play on it. So it's just really a lot of fun, and it's nice to have a spot that the kids can go hang out. But it is worth noting that everyone does have to be accompanied by a parent or some caregiver. We will have volunteers in there helping, but obviously they're not going to take on the responsibility of being the one-on-one caregivers for a patient with Dravet syndrome. So we do ask that you ensure that if your loved one with Dravet is going in there, that they have an adult with them at all times. And then it's open Friday and Saturday during the sessions, but there will be a schedule that you'll see when you get there that'll have actually some planned activities like music sessions. They usually have like an outside person come in and lead the music and things, and it's really fun. And then often what happens is the kids will like learn to sing some songs, and then typically at dinner one of the nights, a group of the Dravet kids will get up on the stage, and the ones that are able will sing You Are My Sunshine, which is just really special to see the kids up there participating at whatever level they're capable of. It really doesn't matter. It's just really special to see them all together. And then sibling camp. So this is something that we've been doing at the conference for a really, really long time, thanks to a couple wonderful ladies who started this. I think maybe 2016 might have been the first year that we did sibling camp. It's just a really special time because it allows the siblings to have their own events that they can participate in and be around other kids who understand what it is like to have a sibling with Dravet syndrome. As we know, a lot of our kids don't fully understand, they don't, none of their friends can relate to what life is like when everything is dictated by, where you go and what you can do and how often you leave the house because you're worried about having a seizure. And so it's just really a special time for the siblings to get to know each other. I have the note at the bottom, like that they may not want to do it, but past participants will say they're glad they took part. A lot of the times the kids don't want to go. And even honestly, even a lot of the parents I talk to, oh, I don't really know if I want my kid to do this. And I promise you, if they go, they will have a good time and they will be so glad they did. It's really neat to see, the kids that are really reluctant at first, and usually by lunchtime, they've kind of found a buddy and they've gotten to know other kids. And then during the evening activities, they want to hang out with the kids that they met during camp during the day. So it really is just a really special experience for the kids. I expect we'll probably have 40 to 50 siblings participating. So it's ages 4 to 17. They do need to be potty trained to participate. If you have a teenager that would like to help, let me know. We'd love to get them involved and kind of help buddy them up with some of the younger kids. Um, as far as logistics, they will eat breakfast in the morning in the main space with their families, and then we'll gather everybody up to head them down about 9 o'clock to start in the rooms that are just down the hall. We have lots of volunteers that will be helping. So in terms of the schedule, they start off the first morning kind of just getting to know each other. And then they do some Legos, which we found has been like a really great icebreaker because it just gets them focused on their Legos, and then they start talking to each other and get to know each other. And then for Friday afternoon and for Saturday, this is very tentative. At some point, we will probably go do an off-site activity like go bowling or something like that. We may have them visit the pool and splash pad at the hotel, depending on comfort level of the parents. So we have yet to determine what our activities will be. And then both the Dravet patients as well as siblings will have the opportunity to do Build-A-Bear in one of the rooms at the hotel on Saturday. So as far as sibling camp, I know if you've registered and said that you had other kids that were coming, we will be reaching out to anyone that registered kids as it gets closer to the conference date with the opportunity to say, yes, they definitely want to participate and gather more information about them so that we know how many kids will be participating. We want to know of any issues that they may have, allergies, that kind of thing, because we will do everything we can to make sure those kids are really well taken care of and have a great time. And then I mentioned Camp Small Steps, which is this was an idea that UCB brought to us probably about a year and a half ago, I guess. They really wanted to provide a camp-like experience. And, we knew that it's not possible for our families to physically go to a camp. And so born out of that idea was, well, let's bring the camp inside. So we got to do this at our Day of Dravet events last year, and then we're really excited to have it be even bigger and better for the conference this year. So I think anybody you asked that participated last time really enjoyed it, just because there's a lot of fun activities. They do some music, like little campfire sing-along, and it's just really a lot of fun. So one of the traditions at the conference is that we present an award to a volunteer in our community. So this award is named in honor of Kira O'Driscoll, whose mom, Lori, was one of the original co-founders of DSF. Unfortunately, she passed away from SUDEP, and it's an honor to have this award named in her memory because she was such an amazing, special little girl. And so it's such a privilege to get to acknowledge a parent every year that goes above and beyond in terms of what they do for DSF and for the community. So we are accepting nominations for this award through May 8th. And then I mentioned before the butterfly release. So this takes place on Saturday morning. Everybody gathers in a spot outside. Like I said, you have the opportunity to purchase a butterfly, but if you don't, that's fine. You'll see in the picture there at the bottom, like there will be a sign that will have the name of every child who's had a butterfly purchased in honor or in memory of them. And so, if the family for that child is there, they'll hold the sign for their child. If there's not somebody there for that child, then somebody else will grab the sign and hold it. And it's just really special. To have this time that we get to remember, especially the lives that we've lost. And so sometimes the butterflies don't cooperate and they don't come out of the boxes. It's you never quite know what's going to happen. But it's just a really special event that happens as a part of the conference. And we do live stream it on Facebook so that people can watch it if they're not there in person. All right, so a few travel tips. Plan ahead for anything. I know that sounds like the obvious, right? But as most of us know, when we're traveling with our kids with Dravet, you're kind of always thinking in the back of your mind, okay, what would I do if my kid had a seizure here? Or what if we're here and it happens? So just kind of thinking ahead in terms of, in the airport or if you're on the plane or in the car, what would be your plan in case something were to happen that you needed emergency care or whatever. Think about everything you might possibly need. So whether you're going in a car or whether you're going on the airplane, obviously make sure you have the rescue medication you need. Make sure you've got diapers and wipes and all the snacks that you might need, whatever it takes to keep your kid entertained. And knowing that, if they're having to sit for a long period of time and they're not used to that, it may be more challenging than usual in terms of traveling. Um, Bring extra medication. You never know when something might happen. You get stuck for an extra day or two and you can't get home. So make sure you don't bring exactly the amount that you need for the number of days, just in case something happens. And it's typically a good idea if you keep it in the original pharmacy containers, especially if you're going through TSA in an airport. Um, if you're flying, don't put your medications into a checked bag. The last thing you want to have happen is that bag gets lost and then you don't have any of your child's medications. So make sure you put them in a carry-on bag. They will, as if it's liquid medication, sometimes they do need to like scan it through a little machine, like to make sure that it's not something that you shouldn't have. So that could take you a little longer going through security. But again, that's one reason why it's really good to have everything in the original containers so they can see what it is and that it's a prescription medication. So that's supposed to say TSA Cares. I see it says TSC Cares. TSA Cares is a program that allows people who need a little extra help to get through security. So we know TSA has been kind of crazy lately. I'm hoping that things have calmed down now and it will be okay in June. But if you go to the TSA website, you can fill out a form and basically you enter your flight information, what airport you're leaving from, what flight, what time. And then somebody from TSA locally will reach out to you a day or two before your flight. They'll give you their number and they'll say, okay, I want you to call me or text me when you get to the airport and I'll come meet you. And they will personally walk you through security. Typically, they're allowing you to go through like the wheelchair accessible line, getting you through just having that person with you can help a lot. If you're having to, move things around a lot and it's really stressful and crazy getting through, just having that extra person to help and make sure that you get through easily can be a huge help. I think it varies. Some airports, I think, do a really good job of this. Others, probably not so much. But it's definitely worth looking into if you feel like it would be helpful for your family. Um, if you are bringing your Dravet loved one in a stroller or wheelchair, they can go through it in security They may make them get out depending on the situation. But they typically you can bring it through security just fine and then get your child to the gate. And then once you're ready to board the plane, you go down the jetway and they can, if you let the gate agent know beforehand, they'll give you a special tag that they can put on it so that it gets taken down and put below the plane for the flight. And then they'll bring it back up to you when you're getting off the plane. So that can be a huge, huge help rather than trying to make your child potentially like walk through the airport or sit on a suitcase or something like that. Um, and then when you get to the gate, ask if you can pre-board when they call for children and families. Even for those of us that have an adult with Dravet, like they might not look like the typical child that would be boarding, but typically if you ask the gate agent and explain, I have a special needs adult with me, they'll let you board in the beginning. But also keep in mind, if you think your child might have a hard time sitting on the plane, you might want to actually wait and get on at the end. That might be better than having them sit there and get antsy before the plane even goes anywhere. So just keep in mind those options for what would work best for your family. And then I wanted to point out that there is a great children's hospital in Orlando that's not all that far from the hotel. It's about a 25-minute drive. So keep that in mind that if you do need emergency care while you are there, that is available to you not too far away. And then Veronica is going to share a little bit about some of the research opportunities that will be happening.
Yeah, so we've been really excited. I think at last year's conference, we had at least two in-person research opportunities that were available. And this year, we're also going to have several. The Dravet Genome Study, which actually began recruitment 2 years ago around the time of the conference, is still recruiting. They've reached almost to the 500 patient goal. And so we're really hoping at the conference this year, if there's anyone who hasn't participated, that you might consider contributing to this effort. It just requires providing a consent form for them to access your electronic medical record and providing a saliva sample for DNA sequencing. They're looking at the whole genome of patients with Dravet syndrome and then looking at their medical record to sort of build a picture of what that patient looks like. Trying to, when they look at this across all 500 patients, to better understand why we see such a spectrum of symptoms and outcomes in patients with Dravet syndrome and other SCN1A related disorders. For this study, you'll be able to just sign up while you're at the conference. But if you have questions about it, you can reach out directly to the study team. So this is being run by a research group at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and you can reach their team at scn1a@chop.edu to learn more. And if you mention you're attending the conference in June, that'd be helpful to give them context. The next study that I'm really excited to see coming to the conference is an AI study of behavior in Dravet syndrome. This is another DSF funded study. The concept is trying to apply something they've done in a mouse model of Dravet syndrome to patients, where they've been able to use automated analysis of videos of mice while they're behaving, and be able to tell a whole lot about their seizure burden, their risk of premature mortality, how effective different anti-seizure medications are, just by seeing how they're behaving naturally outside of times when they're actually having seizures. And so this research group wants to see if they can apply this to humans. And they've been collecting video recordings of patients just done on cell phones from parents to try to build the algorithms. And at the conference, they're able to come in person and bring their video recording equipment in a more controlled setup. And they just need patients to be videoed for a short period of time while they're at the conference. They're recruiting patients between the ages of 2 to 12 years. Hopefully, this will be applicable to patients of all ages, but they're starting in a narrower age range just to build the pilot algorithms. If you're interested in this, for any of these studies, if you have initial questions and you want to reach out to me first, I've put my email at the bottom of this slide. But if you know you're really interested in this study already, you can also reach out directly to the study team. I've listed their email, moseek-study@umich.edu. And again, you'll just want to mention that you'll be attending the DSF conference in June and you're interested in participating in this study. The last one that I have to mention here is not particularly a study, but having a conversation with a researcher who is focused on trying to build better behavioral interventions for patients with Dravet syndrome. And so we're organizing a discussion group of caregivers who will talk about behavioral and daily challenges, as well as development of interventions for those difficult behaviors with this researcher. If you are interested in participating in that conversation, this is one where you will just reach out directly to me with your name and the age of your loved one with Dravet syndrome, and I can give you some more details. We'll also be having a blog post going out to talk more about the work behind that behavioral one. I'll be sending out a targeted email to everyone that's registered for the conference to provide more details about all of these research opportunities. Um, and then the other thing I wanted to mention is that outside of these actual opportunities to participate in research while you're there physically at the conference, there will also be sponsors or companies that help run all the clinical trials that are going on for the different therapies that are being tested. And this is a really great opportunity to come and talk to them directly and get your questions answered about what different therapies they have in development and what opportunities there are to participate in those clinical trials. I think that is all I had to share, Shannon.
Thank you, Veronica. So here's just a few links. So we will send out this presentation. I guess we'll probably post it on the conference website. So you'll be able to click on these links to get information. Our conference website is very, very comprehensive. So dsfconference.org is the place to go. .org or .com? Marian.org or was I right? Okay, I'm like, I just typed
Right.org.
it so automatically,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of information there. There's an FAQ that's on the website. I did want to point out too that there's a budget planning sheet. So if you're not sure, in terms of thinking about how much it's going to cost to travel and what all your expenses might be, you feel free to use that budget planning sheet that you can kind of go ahead and put some numbers in so you can anticipate what the overall cost will be for your family to participate. Um, and then any questions you have. So if you have questions about your actual registration, if something changes, if you have questions about the hotel block, you can reach out to Sarah. Her email address is there. And then as Veronica said, anything about the research opportunities that are happening, you can reach out to Veronica. And then sibling camp or any other thing, about like conference in terms of programming or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me. So I guess, do we have any questions from anybody that is on the call?
We don't have any in the chat, but I think if anyone does have a question, if they want to take themselves off of mute, they're more than welcome to ask it. Or Shannon, you were just so thorough that you've answered every question that everyone can think of.
All right. Well, if nobody has any questions, then like I said, feel free to reach out to any of us on the DSF staff, and we'd be happy to help you out. No question is too small, right? It could be something very minor that you're worried about in terms of whether your family can participate or whatever. So please feel free to reach out and ask, and we will do our best. Oh, looks like Mary Beth has a question.
Oh, I think you're still on mute, Mary Beth.
Oh,
Let's
I'm mute.
see.
Okay. I just want to thank you all for just your leadership and just all the work that you do, just tireless. My son Sean is 27 years old and he was diagnosed with Dravet at 7 years old. We've been in and out of contacting the Dravet Foundation and just recently kind of got reconnected. And I just can't thank you enough for just all the leadership and just the quality of services that you offer. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing as many of you, at this conference.
Thank you. Glad you're coming. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you all for attending. And like I said, we'll share the recording to this as well as the slides so that you can click on any of the links if there was anything that you might have wanted to learn more about. So we're excited to see those of you that are coming, and hopefully we'll have a great time. It'll be fun.
Thank you.